Today on the Big 3 in 30, the Cavs get a statement win over the Pistons.
They didn't have their full roster, and they still found a way to get a win.
The Knicks shut down the Raptors in Toronto.
Knicks closed this game out on a 16-2 run. We'll tell you exactly how that happened.
And the Spurs beat the Sixers by 40.
131-91 over the 76ers in a game that felt like it was not even as close as that.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Cavs held off a late comeback and beat the Pistons last night for a big win over the best team in the East. After that win, Locked On Cavs host Danny Cunningham has the recap.
The Cavs beat the Detroit Pistons 113-109 on Tuesday evening inside Rocket Arena. And this is a game that I look at and just say, the Cavs didn't have their best stuff, right? Like, we've seen the Cavs recently play much better. Like, I think the game they played against the New York Knicks a week ago was a more soundly played basketball game than what they played. This was far from perfect for the Cavs. Now, they played well, don't get me wrong, but I think that if you watch this game on Tuesday night, you can tell, okay, they've got several more levels that they can get to. They did not have Donovan Mitchell in this game as he continues to work back from a sore groin. Dean Wade was questionable prior to this game and did not play because of an ankle sprain. They're still missing Max Strus. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. And Jarrett Allen left this game midway through with a knee injury. Now, we don't know the severity as of right now, but like, the Cavs didn't have their best stuff. They didn't have their full roster, and they still found a way to get a win against the team that's been the best team in the East all season long, and a team, truthfully, they should have beaten on Friday in Detroit with an even lesser roster than what they had on Tuesday night at home. And a big part of the reason why the Cavs got this win is because of the play of Jalen Tyson. And I thought you could make the case that he was the best player on the floor in this game. So Tyson finishes with 22 points. He hit 5 threes, was 8 of 15 from the floor, had 3 rebounds, had 4 assists, did block 2 shots. But like, the thing to me that made Jalen Tyson so special in this game is what he did on the defensive end against Cade Cunningham. So you guys know where I stand if you listen to the show all the time. And if you don't, I am a believer that Dean Wade should be the 5th starter for the Cavs. And he's out with that ankle injury right now. And Jalen Tyson, I think, has done a fantastic job for the most part filling in that role. And I would at this point still expect Dean probably to be the starter when he's back and healthy. I think that he gives them the most defensive upside. But this game was, I think, a brilliant showcase for Jalen Tyson as to why he might deserve that role. And he held Cade Cunningham, who I, again, do not think is the MVP of the NBA right now, but I do think that it's fair he's in the discussion. If I had a vote, I would not vote for him. I would vote for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but like, Cade has been fantastic this season. And this was maybe Cade's worst game of the season. I know that against the Spurs a week and change ago, he was 5 of 25, and that was certainly not a good mark on his resume and one of his worst performances of the season. But I want to read you his stat line, because I think Jalen Tyson, and Jalen was not the only one that defended him. I think Keon Ellis, who did foul out of this game in 26 minutes, deserves some credit too. And there were a number of guys that I think did a good job defending Cade. But Cade finished in just under 39 minutes on the floor. He scored 10 points, did have 14 assists on 4 of 16 shooting, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, so only took 2 free throws, had 5 fouls, 1 steal, 1 block, and 5 turnovers. The Cavs outscored the Pistons by 11 points in the 38 minutes and 45 seconds that Cade Cunningham was on the floor. Jalen Tyson was a big reason as to why. He picked up Cade 94 feet basically every time they were matched up. He did a good job, I think, of frustrating Cade Cunningham. And you could tell, if you watched this game, you could tell that Cade Cunningham was getting really frustrated with the way that Jalen Tyson was defending him. And I think that's a really big deal. Like, I watched this, and I watched Friday's game through a similar lens, and it was a little different because the Cavs didn't have Harden on Friday. They were missing more guys on Friday than they were in this one on Tuesday night. But I watched this through a playoff lens, right? I think about, okay, how is this going to work in a potential playoff setting where we could see these two teams play a best of 7 series. I would be stunned if the Cavs and Pistons match up in a best of 7 series if Jalen Tyson doesn't earn at least 2 technical fouls from Detroit. Like, he's going to be a guy that I think if these two teams match up, and we don't know how that final bracket's going to shake out in a month and change from right now, but if these two teams match up, I look at this and just say he's going to really annoy Kay Cunningham. He's going to annoy everybody on that Pistons team because he is somebody that just brings that defensive attitude. And he is somebody that you're not going to want to see on the floor. And the fact that he's doing this while also being such an additive offensive player, the fact that he hit 5 threes in this game, and the Pistons, I don't think had a great defensive game. I think they can be a lot better. Basically everybody other than Asar Thompson, who was, I think, the biggest reason why this game was close late in the game. And I think the Cavs actually won this game when JB Bickerstaff pulled Asar out of the game with around 5 or 6 minutes left for a few possessions to steal him some rest. And the Cavs kind of kept it even at that point and still had a lead. And it was at that point a little too late for Asar to make that same impact defensively. So I think that's part of the reason why too the Cavs won this game, because Asar was freaking awesome. Like, he's such a talented defender. He's not a good offensive player, but he's such a talented defender. And he does give the Cavs ability to defend the Pistons in different ways that I think is going to be an issue for them in the postseason, because Evan Mobley defends Asar Thompson. And by defends Asar Thompson, I basically mean Evan Mobley does not defend Asar Thompson. He just sort of roams in the middle of the floor. But I just don't think that part of the reason why I think the Cavs match up super well is they're doing this without Donovan Mitchell. And they're doing this with a very compromised James Harden. Like, James had a solid game. I didn't think it was great. I thought that he had some big plays and big moments, like the layup in the left-handed drive to the basket that he was able to get a few times. He got to the free throw line. The 1 3-pointer that he hit was a big run stopper earlier in this game. That one was in the first half. And like, he's playing through a fractured thumb, and I do think deserves a lot of grace for playing through that. And like, he still had a solid game. It was not peak James Harden, but he gave them enough to win with 18 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds in this game. But I look at this and just think the Pistons are really going to struggle to defend the Cavs, because the Cavs have creation and shooting in ways that I just don't know can be matched by other teams in the Eastern Conference. Because when you put Donovan Mitchell back into this mix, which obviously was not part of the plan on Tuesday, I just think it becomes a more unsolvable equation for the Pistons. And Jalen Tyson, it's not only that he made 5 threes in this game, it's that he attempted 12 threes. And if you go back and watch those threes, they're not threes that you're like, I don't know that that's a good shot. Like, they're open threes. And I truthfully think, in the Cavs shot as a team 17 of 46, I think the 46 attempt number matters more than the 17 makes. Now, you have to, if you're going to take a lot of threes, you have to make a lot of threes. And the Cavs are a very good shooting team, and they have a lot of really talented shooter. And, when James Harden is healthier, I don't think that he's going to go 2 of 9 from beyond the arc. I thought Sam Merrill went 3 of 7 in this game. Now, the one that he made in the fourth quarter was a really big shot, but he missed some looks that we are used to watching Sam Merrill make over and over and over again. So I do think you can almost expect better out of him. And then you also add Donovan Mitchell into this equation, and it becomes a math problem, because the Pistons had one of their better 3-point shooting games in a while on Tuesday against the Cavs. They were 9 of 24. They shot 37.5%. And you might think, oh, of course, another bad 3-point shooting team has a good 3-point shooting game against the Cavs. I don't think that's it, because you look at this and say, yes, they shot 37%. One of those was a banked in 3 by Ron Holland. And the fact that they only took 24 threes in this game, I really think says the Cavs did a good job defending beyond the arc. They have figured out a defensive blueprint. It starts with Jalen Tyson. And I think when they're healthy, and we've not seen it for the past 2 games against Detroit, Dean Wade is part of it. We saw Keon Ellis on Tuesday night, I think, do a good job against Cade Cunningham. Now, we didn't see him on Fridays. He did not play. Or excuse me, no, he did play. No, he did not play on Friday with that fracture thing. All of these injuries are just adding up. Like, it's hard to keep track at some point. But I do think that they have figured out a blueprint to beat this team. And ultimately, and I'll talk about this coming up a little bit in segment number 2, I think that the Cavs have this ability to present more problems for the other contenders in the Eastern Conference than those other contenders can present to them. And that's a big part of the reason why I think the Cavs are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I also thought Evan Mobley had a solid game. I thought he looked aggressive. Would have preferred that he get more than just 9 field goal attempts, but I thought he was aggressive. The fact that he got to the line, he took 8 free throws in this game, which I think is a really big deal. Made a couple of threes, and they were both in the second half. The one he hit in the fourth quarter on the left wing, that was a big time shot because Detroit had a lot of momentum. Felt like the Cavs offensively were getting a little bit stagnant. Looked like they were almost running out of gas a little bit. And this was their 8th game in 13 days. Like, this is a tough stretch of basketball that now they're on the other side of. But I think that they were almost on their last legs in this game. And I thought that shot that he hit over Jalen Duren was a big time shot. I thought that was one of the bigger moments of the game. I think Evan deserves a lot of credit for the way that he's been playing lately. And I thought that he had a pretty strong game tonight. Only 5 rebounds. I don't think that's that big of a deal. When you look at this I do think, a good example of team rebounding. But the fact he also had 4 assists, like I liked a lot of what I saw from Evan Mobley in this one. It wasn't perfect, and I still think he's working his way back, but he is looking like the guy that was an all-NBA player last year. He's starting to resemble that guy. Dennis Schroeder was fantastic off the bench. And this is the role that I look at, and okay, maybe he played a little bit more in this game than you'll see in the playoffs, which a lot of that has to do with Donovan Mitchell being out with that groin injury. But I thought Schroeder was fantastic in this game. Now, we had those 2 late turnovers that were like maybe made this game closer than it should have been and made Jalen Tyson have to hit a free throw at the end to make it a 2-possession game. But Schroeder finished with 15 points, had some really big buckets too. 5 boards, 5 assists, was 6 of 10 from the floor, and was a game high plus 16 in his 28 minutes. And I have been so impressed with who Dennis Schroeder has been, because when that trade was made, the thought was, okay, Keon Ellis is the prize for the Cavs, right? And Keon has been really good for the Cavs in his minutes. This wasn't his best game, but he still had 2 steals and a block, right? Like, he's still been this really dynamic, active defensive player, but he was thought to be the prize. In the penalty for the Cavs for acquiring Keon Ellis was, okay, you also need to take on the contract of Dennis Schroeder. And Dennis, I think, has exceeded all expectations. He's been a winner in Cleveland. And I think that's the best way to describe him. There's, like things that he does that just really lead to winning. I think that he's another guy that I talked about how if these 2 teams, and really I don't think this is Pistons specific, but like Jalen Tyson is going to annoy a lot of teams in the postseason. He's going to annoy whoever the Cavs play. Dennis Schroeder is in that same breath. He's going to be one pesky, annoying defender that opponents have to deal with. And also his quickness offensively, like his first step when he's driving to the basket is so quick. And he's been able to get around basically everybody that he wants to. And then he gets the ball up on the glass so quickly too. Like, I don't know how he makes some of these layups. And I don't know if there's somebody that I can think of in the NBA. And I asked in the locker room, like, who does this even compare to? And nobody could give me a good answer. But he gets the ball. It's almost like he shoots it late in the act, like he's in the act of shooting, and the last thing to happen is, oh yeah, I got to get the ball up. And that's kind of how it works. And it looks a little funky, and I don't know how he makes all of these. But on a night like tonight where he's 6 of 10, and it's just like everything was working for him. Hit a couple of threes, which maybe that feels like found money a little bit, but I thought he was really, really good in this game. A couple of other notes, like I said, I thought James Harden was okay. I think it's clear that he is playing through some pain and that he doesn't necessarily have the same control over the basketball while he's dealing with this fractured thumb. And I do think that these 4 days off will be really good for him. The fact that that can rest. And again, he's not going to be 100% on Sunday when the Cavs are back in action against the Boston Celtics, but I do expect to see him be better as he gets some more time and just gets further away from this injury. But I do think it's important that he's playing through it. And I don't think that's something that goes unnoticed. So like I said, I do think that he deserves a significant amount of grace for playing through a fractured thumb, considering how frequently he has the basketball in his hands. Like, I do think it's a really big deal. I thought the Thomas Bryant minutes were awesome in this game. He has been so valuable to the Cavs, especially now if Jared Allen might miss time. And I don't know anything more about his injury. Kenny Atkinson said it was a play where he went knee to knee with somebody. You would hope it's not significant, but we don't have an update as I record this at 12:15 in the morning on Wednesday, March 4th. So when I hear more about that, we will talk about it on the show, but I don't have answers for it right now. But what Thomas Bryant has been able to do, he played 16 minutes in this game, scored 9 points, was a plus 12, and like it felt like it. Like he has just been, I think, so important to who the Cavs can be off the bench. And then I thought Craig Porter Jr. too. I thought he had some really good moments. He had 7 points, 3 of 8 shooting, like not the most efficient night. Was 1 of 4 from beyond the arc, but he had 5 offensive rebounds. Kenny Atkinson just described him as a possession getter after the game. And it just feels like it's a really big deal when he makes some of those really small winning basketball plays. And I don't know if there's room for him in the rotation when the Cavs are fully healthy. There might not be, but I still think, even if he's not the most potent offensive option, I still think he's an additive winning player.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Knicks haven't lost to the Raptors all season, and Jalen Brunson led the way last night for New York to get to 4-0 against Toronto on the year. Gavin Shaw goes over the win on Locked On Knicks.
The New York Knicks wrap up a 111-95 victory over the Raptors. Toronto, thanks to 10 straight points by, you guessed it, the combination of RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, were able to cut it to 95-93 with about 4 minutes to go in this one. Knicks closed this game out on a 16-2 run. We'll tell you exactly how that happened. But before we do, I wanted to zoom out a little bit. Last 19 games now for the New York Knicks. That is a pretty substantial sample size. For those of you doing math at home, that is, I should have done the math ahead of time. It's a little under a fourth of the season. The Knicks are 15-4 in their last 19 games. They're 15-2 against teams not named the Detroit Pistons. And this is not me saying those games against the Pistons don't count. I would say those are probably the 2 most important games the Knicks played, and they lost them. So those are crucial data points in there. But overall, in that 19-game stretch, they're first in the NBA net rating, plus 13.9. That is 2 points better than the second place San Antonio Spurs. They are 7th over that stretch in total offense. That is good, but surprising, because we thought the whole premise of this Knicks team is for them to be elite. They couldn't just be good on offense. And I would say 7th is very good on offense, but we thought they had to be all-time great on offense to be really good. And they've been the best team in the NBA over this 19-game stretch, not because they've been all-time great on offense, but because they've been at least maybe not all-time great, but this season great on defense. First in the NBA in defensive rating over that 19-game stretch. They've allowed just 103 points per 100 possessions. That is not only first in the NBA, it is 3 points better than anyone else. The Spurs are in second. It's a full 5 points better than the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team we are universally discussing as the greatest defense, at least in modern NBA history. There's some caveats to that. Oklahoma City's missed some guys. They've had some injuries. They've probably played down to competition because they're a little bit less desperate than the Knicks. But at some point, you just got to call a spade and say, like, this Knicks team that over that 2-9 stretch was 29th in defense has completely flipped it around. Now, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And I think this team probably in reality is something like the 9th or 10th best defense in the NBA at this point. But we're seeing some flashes that make me think this can be real. Generally, a good formula for NBA defense is length, athleticism, urgency, and connectivity. And I would say the Knicks have embodied all those things of late. Somebody tweeted out yesterday. I should have screenshotted it so I could share with you guys. But the Knicks are now routinely playing 3 wings with 7'2" plus wingspans in Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and of course, Mohamed Diawara. You combine that with the fever pitch Josh Hart has hit of late. We'll get back to him, but he had a total of 5 combined steals and blocks. Stocks in this one, 3 steals, 2 blocks. And the fervor that Jose Alvarado brings every game, and the level of defense that Mitchell Robinson is approaching again, which is maybe not quite the highs he had. I always reference the start of the 23-24 season, but it's something close to that. Like his combination of rim protecting, and we'll circle back on it, like the ability to show at the level and then rotate over and stop a drive in a single possession. Like you start to stack those elements. You have an opportunistic Jalen Brunson, right? Like he's always going to get targeted. There are going to be matchups. There are going to be moments where it looks bad and it looks like he's helpless, but he's strong. And the last few games, what we've seen from Jalen on both ends of the floor, frankly, is genuine burst. And defensively, that manifests itself late in this game, fourth quarter. Hart is guarding Scotty Barnes. Hart walls up, pushes Barnes like off his rim angle, and Brunson sees that Barnes is off balance. Brunson shoots in, gets a steal, push coast to coast, leave it back for Hart. Hart gets the layup. The backline rotations are so much cleaner, so much better for this team. They're not perfect. In the first quarter, Toronto was absolutely torching the Knicks because they were kind of overcommitting to help, and they were able to spray and get shots off it. Part of this was certainly poor shooting for the Toronto Raptors. They finished just 5 of their last 25 from 3-point range. That is going to make your defense look a lot better. Emmanuel Quickley in particular missed 2 down the stretch of this one that he absolutely should have made. Both of them went in and out. So you caveat it with all that. But with 8:54 left in the third quarter of this game, the Raptors hit 70 points. They scored just 25 points over the final, I'm going to do some quick math here, 20:54 of this one. That is essentially a 58-point pace for a full game. Over a full game, that would be I didn't look this up before, but I would assume one of the 5 to 10 lowest scoring games over the last 20 years. That is obscene against like a pretty decent offense. And again, the shooting was undoubtedly a significant variable in that, but the Knicks absolutely made it tough on Toronto. Like we can go up and down. Like I already mentioned, like Brunson, like his positioning is better, his activity is better, his playmaking is better, continues to lead the NBA in charges. Like he's gone from a guy, like particularly during that losing stretch, but honestly, over the whole first like 3 months of the season, basically, he was just flat out one of the worst defenders in the NBA, like one of the worst defenders in the NBA to play 30 plus minutes, even 20 plus minutes in a game. And he's gone from that to like, it feels like he's been almost a net neutral, probably a little bit short of that. Like the best teams, you saw it with the Cavs, can still take advantage of him, but it feels like he is approaching that. And he is a key part of those backline rotations, right? Like he takes a charge early in this one just because he beats Emmanuel Quickley to a spot. He sees Emmanuel Quickley. He's not going to be able to stop his momentum, and he gets there, and it's just great anticipation. Cat continues to play awesome defense after allowing a 3 the first possession of the game. Next play has one of my favorite defensive plays from him all season, and this is something we were so frustrated with him last year, and I don't even think I fully appreciated it with Cat, but he's just been better at it, and that is doing his work early defensively. Sees Ingram driving, sees that he has to step up. And last year, there were so many times where Cat would just have bricks attached to his feet. He would never move. And you would see him jump under the rim, and it would be like a false contest that didn't actually affect the driver at all. This time, wins the race to the spot, goes straight up and down, meets Ingram in the air, and half blocks him, half strips him in the air. Just a great play. Does the same thing later, like third quarter against RJ Barrett. Verticality to slow RJ down. McHale recovers, swats him from behind. In the fourth, slides his feet to, again, beat RJ to the rim. Forces a kick out to Scotty Barnes. Instead, like normally with Cat there, that's an open layup for RJ Barrett. Or it's like a finish around Cat. Cat gets there. RJ has to pass. Scotty Barnes can't shoot right now. Clanks the 3. That's all great. McHale defensively, like the backside rim protection is a real thing with him. Something last year I was like, where is this? Like the guy has giant arms. He's super smart. He's great positioning. And this year, the shot blocking, it's come in fits and spurts, but it's been there. Like got that one on RJ, had another one earlier where he rotated late where Cat had a 2-on-1. Should have been a wide open layup for Pirtle. Mikal gets there, maybe fouled him, doesn't get called, doesn't matter. Pirtle misses a bunny. That's great defense. OG was getting torched early in this one by Brandon Ingram, but late in this game, the rebounding from OG Anunoby really stood out to me. Only 5, but he wins a couple of contested ones, including one late where he beats 3 guys to a ball, gets it ahead to Josh Hart. Josh Hart rips an insane bounce pass through traffic from close to half court to Mikal, cutting in for a monster dunk. Awesome sequence.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Spurs bounced back from a loss to the Knicks by dominating the 76ers in a 40-point win Tuesday. After the blowout, Casey Vieira sorts through the stat sheet on Locked On Spurs.
The San Antonio Spurs win 131-91 over the 76ers in a game that felt like it was not even as close as that. A dominant showing, 8 players in double figures. They end the rodeo road trip on a high note. 8-1. They take 8 of their 9 games on their annual getaway. First time they've done that since 2003. And as a result, they're feeling pretty good about life coming into a big time game Thursday against Detroit. My friend, you're looking for a good bounce back. And when we say bounce back after losses, you're thinking, all right, just win the game, right? Show positives, win the game. Tonight, they well exceeded that and a little bit more.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another fantastic show. Casey, I think Keldon had one of his rawhide belts with him, when he walked into Philly because they brought the belt out tonight. But let's talk about it. Let's break it down, Casey.
This is what you'll be talking about.
And it's very fitting given that NBC was doing the old school theme broadcast, the 90s graphic, Costas, Doug Collins, Fratello, they were all in attendance, Jim Gray. They were on the call, Hannah Storm. It's only fitting that they put really an old school beat down on these 76ers tonight. The Philly team that was playing without Joel Embiid this evening, out with an oblique situation. Of course, Paul George banned on the PED ban right now, or banned because of PEDs. Currently, Philly sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference. And the Spurs look like a team that had their worst loss of the season the other day and was mad about it. They jump out to an 18-6 run to start the game. Dylan Harper had 11 points in the first quarter of play, and the Spurs are off and running. They didn't go up by 50 in the first quarter. It took some time to get there, and that included a 16-0 run by the middle portion of the second. It turns what's a 10-point game into a 26-point game. And as a result, they go up 78-53 at the half. They're off, they're running, they're making just about everything. They're hitting over 50% of their shots. Philly isn't even hitting the third. They ultimately outscore them 46-28. Same story when it comes to third quarter. Devin Vassell can't miss from distance. He ended up hitting 6 of his 8 threes. Between the second and the third quarters of play, the math reads 81-39 is what they outscored the two in those 2 quarters. 46-28 in second, 35-11 in third. Ultimately, they're up by 49 after 3 quarters of play, and then after that, you're just kind of going through the motions, and what ultimately turns into a 40-point victory tonight for the Spurs. Vassell, like we mentioned, the high man, 6 threes. Victor only needed him 24 minutes, 10 points, 8 boards, 6 blocks. Castle, 15, 4 and 10 to hit over 56% of their shots. Moved 44-17 on the season. 8-1 rodeo road trip. Hey, a win's a win. Got one on the right side of the ledger. And when you do it tonight in the fashion that they did, makes you feel even better.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the meat and potatoes of what we saw. We wanted to see a response. New York was a terrible game, and the Spurs came out and got out to a great start. You give Tyrese Maxey all the credit in the world, but the Spurs made him work for everything that he was trying to get. And when you're having to work that hard and you're a jump shooter like he is, and things aren't going in the baskets, early, which they weren't. The Spurs were able to take advantage of that. But we had to see them bounce back and really clean up some of the flaws that we saw the other day. And I think that they did that. They put more of an emphasis on moving the ball. You saw that. And what I want everybody to realize is, yeah, it was Philly, and they got a lot going on over there on their side. But it's about what the Spurs did and how they played and the fact that they responded in such a big way. And I just really think that ball movement was great. Starters get onto a decent start. But Dylan Harper coming in and imposing his will early, really got them off to a good start. Then after that, like you said, Vassell, and we definitely need to check the numbers because I believe he might have shot the highest three-point percentage on a rodeo road trip out of any guards that have ever played for San Antonio.
Vassell?
I mean, he's
Yeah,
just been
probably.
shooting
Yeah.
it. He's just been shooting it very, very well. So kudos to him, for a wonderful road trip shooting the basketball, just opening up for Wemby. But Casey, when we look at this thing, we needed San Antonio to answer the bell because they got gut punched the other day, and I think they really did that.
Yeah, Harper ended up finishing with 22, day removed from his 20th birthday, and what was, I guess, the last of his tri-state area homecoming. I know Philly's not tri-state area, but you know what I mean. Interesting note out of this: Harrison Barnes did not play tonight. Woke up, ankle was not feeling good. First time that happened since December 2021 at DMP. It snaps a streak of 364 consecutive games played. That comes to a close tonight. Relatable, Harrison, as someone also in their mid-30s. I wake up with, things randomly feeling sore too. So right there with you.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all do, especially after I played 2 or 3 consecutive days of golf. Everything's hurting. Yes.
Yes, that is true. Wasn't in the in the grand scheme of things, there wasn't a dramatic turning point tonight, but there was something that Devin saw, a slight little tinkering that went from a convincing game to a blowout, and as a result, something that's going to be very beneficial as the games get that much more tougher starting Thursday against Detroit.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
And it starts with Stephon Castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that second quarter was probably the best you've seen him in a while as far as moving the basketball. He was gutting them. He had the follow-up dunk. But what he was doing is he was running different plays through Wemby, and he was moving the basketball. Vassell, Carter Bryant, Wemby. And when he moves it around like that, when the San Antonio Spurs move it around like that, Casey, they're going to be very tough to beat. That's the little tinkering that they did. I thought the ball got stuck a lot in New York, but tonight that thing was moving around. Doug Collins coached me for all the viewers. It's good to hear him on the mic. And he really commented on that, talking about the Spurs are out there running the clinic on how they're moving the basketball. So that was great to see tonight.
Mm-hmm. They like that. And I will say this, if there's ever a broadcast crew that you need someone to go into blowout story mode, just bring in Bob Costas and all those guys, Collins Fratello, Jim Gray. That was actually pretty cool with Jim Gray interviewing Dylan Harper at halftime. I thought
it was
cool. Yeah, I thought that because that's something.
And the fact that he told me I interviewed your dad like 100 times, that is cool.
That was pretty cool. I will say this though, I don't know if I like Costas guilt tripping me for having to watch the fourth quarter, because every time we got to like the 6-minute mark in the third, and he was basically saying, "What are you doing with your life? Change the channel, man."
We're just trying to do our job, Bob.
I know. I'm like, can I live, dude? Like, I want to watch. Maybe I want to watch the game. Maybe I want to see Waters come in.
I've waited 25 games to see my boy Bismack Biyombo get in there. Finish with the left hand.
Yeah, right.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 College wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.